Cool. Getting ready to go. Popping up live, and then make sure I share this on the old socials here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, 6 and beta. All right. You ready? You still sharing?
Let's fucking get it.
Slightly above average gamers, way above average podcast. Welcome to the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast with your hosts, J007TV and Sub1KD.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 50 of the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast. I am J007TV. I'm joined, as always, by Sub1KD. Dude, can you believe it's been 50 episodes?
Nope. It's we're over a year, 50 episodes in. This has been quite the journey. It's a lot of fun. It's caused me to spend money, so absolutely grab those listens, especially on Spotify, so that we can I can start to make a dent back on it. But yeah, man, it's been great. I've been having a good time. How about you, man?
No, I think it's awesome. It's been really great getting to have these conversations with you. We agree on a lot of stuff. We disagree on some things. We've had some really cool guests on, this first 50 episodes, and we're going to be looking to have some more guests and start doing some more things for the community. But Sub1 is right, actually. When you talk about downloading and listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So what that helps us do when you do that, because of the ad rolls that are in there, we're able to monetize the podcast. And then that money we're going to take and put back into the podcast and into the community. So,
Yep.
If we can get to a point to where we're, rolling with a lot of downloads, that would be good. We'll be able to start doing some like giveaways and community nights, those kind of things. Well, that's free. We don't really have to pay for that, but you get my point. We'll be able to start giving back.
We got stuff to do. So
yeah.
And like I mentioned, so I was talking to our designers earlier. We're about 2 weeks out from getting a good run at our merch. So that'll
sweet.
be up. Discord's up and running, so hop in there. We're building that up and getting the conversation going. I will pre-warn you, I am the worst Discorder ever, so I'll hop in and send like 30 messages, and then you won't hear from me for another day.
I've been pretty diligent about it. Like I post in my own every morning. It's not really a busy Discord. I've been in a couple other Discords that are fairly busy. Discord's funny because everybody has one, and it's like you feel guilty like if you're not in their Discord. But then like you look at your server list and there's 37 servers on the left. And finally, dude, I just had to start leaving some, man. It's no shade to the people I left, but I'm not active in there. There's no point in me being there.
Yeah. Discord's one of those. When I was working at a previous job and I sat in front of a computer a lot, Discord made a lot of sense because I was just always there. Right now, I'm like on it. If I'm on a computer, I'm doing something and I don't have a lot of idle time. If I have idle time, I'm getting up and going to do something else. So, it's that real time interaction just ain't there for me. But that being said, we do have some real time interaction on the beta, and some review back on COD Next. I mean, this has been a busy week for Call of Duty. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but I'm feeling like we're finally getting the COD Next experience that we kind of thought we would get in Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. A lot of changes coming up. This multiplayer is going to feel very different, I think, than previous multiplayers, obviously.
Yeah.
But I've logged time on the beta. I know you have as well. So I am just looking forward to hearing your experiences. And I've been trying to go back and forth between console and PC. So I've now played on PC, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X, and so I'll get to share my experiences on those as well.
Yeah, I've been just on PC. I've got about 8 hours into the beta. I played
Nerd.
for 8 hours yesterday, and I'm probably going to end up playing about the same amount. I'm already maxed out, so now it's just a matter of like working on the different weapons and stuff like that, and we'll cover that. But you mentioned Next, and it does seem like a difference between this Next and the previous two. So if you look at like COD Next before for Modern Warfare 2, there didn't seem to be the same amount of excitement from the creators that we're getting all of the clips and the info from prior to. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in large part it's because they knew what that game was going to be and they knew what the issues were going to be. We've already discussed all those, so there's no need to do that. Modern Warfare 3 Next, it was more or less just fixing what was broken with Modern Warfare 2, whatever. But
Yeah.
then this one, and this is what we were talking about right before we went live. This experience to me, it feels like old Call of Duty, but different at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome all the way, from Next to the beta. Like, I mean, all we need to add is being able to go to GameStop at fucking midnight, and it'd feel like, you know what I mean? Like it would feel like it used to when we were in our
you can still go.
30s.
For now, you can still go to GameStop. They have a nice Steelbook pickup when you buy the game from them, which is kind of cool. I'll pick it up on eBay for like 49 cents next month.
But I think it's going to be a long couple months. Like, I mean, it's essentially 2 months, right? Like, it's going to be a long couple months. And
25th of October, so we're 1st of August.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we're first of September.
1st of September. Yeah, end of August.
Is that today or tomorrow?
Saturday is the 31st, so yeah, 1st of September.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely had a different vibe to it. It had more of a vibe to it. I do remember in the first COD Next for Modern Warfare 2, one of the things that came up frequently was, looking back, a lot of creators spent a lot of time talking about the game, and they didn't spend nearly as much time playing it as they did. As they did this year. I think this year was a lot of them that I saw were just always trying to get in the next match, next match, and they weren't doing a lot of time talking about the game. I didn't see that nearly as much, unless they were talking in between game sets, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that's in part because the game is more fun. It's like when something's fun, you want to keep you're ready to jump back in, even if you get crapped on.
Yeah, and I want to look. I want to dive into to kind of what I want to bump our schedule a little bit because I want to get right into Omni Movement, because I think Omni Movement is one of those things that, I mean, we're going to talk about it, I think, repeatedly, but I just want to delve into the first impressions from Next, right? I made some comments on Twitter. I've had my first impressions were that watching Omni Movement is that it's going to be a problem, and it's definitely not going to be a casual friendly environment. And that was my, so I, watching it and reading about it, right? That's my first impression. I've talked to some other, some people offline, and they are very concerned about it. What was your first impression on Omni Movement when you saw it, when you heard about it? Like, how do you think that was going to flow for the game?
I mean, I knew it would it's going to increase the skill gap. When you allow people to move, especially better players that are able to like master these kind of things, when you allow them to move, it will increase the skill gap. I don't know. I think it's better than being punished for certain movements. So, in my opinion, and yeah, watching those people at Next, I mean, like, I put Shotzi down. Like, I was watching him on Scud. That dude's already figuring out how to like mantle off of things, and like, it's just, just, I mean, it is what it is, dude. I think it's great. I think the Omni Movement is going to be, kind of game changing for Call of Duty. It is going to be in Warzone. So, I
Yep.
mean, it's kind of one of those things. We're just going to have to get used to it, man. And it's not that complicated, right? Like after doing it, I didn't
Yeah.
think it was, it's not like you got to push 75 buttons. God forbid you have to push multiple buttons in a video game, but
Well, so this is something that comes up that's come up for years. Is like intentional skill gaps versus like unintentional skill gaps. So like there's been a couple of these unintentional skill gaps. The big one obviously for years was slide canceling, right? That was not, showed up in 2019, really became a thing during Cold War, and then, was like the lifeblood of playing Warzone forever, right? And really that was not supposed to be there, right? So it required you to do a multiple button combination to make it work. You had to do it on repeat to constantly reset your attack sprint, and combine that with other movement in order to have like movement in the game. And there was a lack of intentionality in there, and I think for a lot of people it was, especially at the time, if you think back, when that came out, the majority of the players were still on console. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were still prominent in the list of consoles being used, right? This was height of the supply chain problems, so next gen consoles were still very difficult to come by. And the high end controllers weren't really a big thing either, right? So most players were playing on a standard controller, just standard, probably default layout going into Warzone. And I don't think when that slide canceling became a thing that changed much, right? So it was not necessarily something that a lot of casual players, a lot of the player base at the time was going to be comfortable doing, especially in combat, right? Like one thing to run across the field, another thing to be like trying to maneuver in combat, use both sticks, and somehow jump and slide. And so I feel like they've done a good job from, and then we've had other ones where we had that. Remember that drop hop that was a thing for a while in Modern Warfare 2, right? You just instant drop and then hop back up, and it messes with, it was breaking aim assist and getting you up. Instant drop shot was the thing. Like there's a lot of these little skill movement mechanics that have come up over the years that they're not intended, right? So they're not easy to do. You have to practice them, you have to master them. This is intended, right? This is designed for accessibility. And that's something that I think is worth noting, right? Like this is not a skill gap that can be easily paywalled as some of these other movement mechanics that were there. And I think that's an interesting thing to bear in mind, is that as we delve more into how it feels, that we're getting for the first time in several years a movement based skill gap by design, not by accident.
well, and the other thing too, like when it comes to stuff like this, and I mean even slide canceling, and I know the whole elite controller and the paddles, that was kind of a thing. I mean, I started Warzone on an elite because I was playing Rainbow Six Siege on
Mm-hmm.
an elite. So I had one from jump, right? Like, but you're right. They are more accessible to the public, or to the masses, if you will. When it comes to stuff like this, though, I am of the philosophy that if it's in the game and people are doing it and you can learn how to do it and you choose not to, that's on you. I don't want to hear you complain. Like
Sure,
this.
but I there's a slight difference between knowing that something's in the game and altering. There's a difference between something that's in the game on purpose and that's not in the game on purpose, right? Like
But it was in the game for everybody. We all knew slide canceling was a thing.
eventually,
Like,
yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
we all
and
figured it out.
yeah, I mean, listen, dude, you and I are not high skill players. We learned how to do it. I mean, let's
Of
be real
course.
about that. We're not. We have never claimed to be, right? Like, but we learned how to do the slide canceling and
Mm-hmm.
in fights, out of fights, whatever. So, if you chose not to do that, then that's on you. I don't want to hear you complain.
No, but there's a difference between like if you have your standard controller, you don't have any back paddles, you don't have anything like the default to the game, like you just can't do it in combat, right? Because you have to take your thumb, you have to either play claw, which is terrible for your hands long term, or you have to play you have to start messing with your settings and relearn how to use your controller compared to some of us playing the same way for 20 years, right? There's a difference here though between you have to set your system up a certain way in order to take advantage of this movement mechanic versus it's just available, right? Like there's a difference there.
But again, all right, well, take golf, right? Like equipment matters, right? People upgrade their drivers, like instead of using a Walmart driver, they get a Titleist or whatever. I mean, it's the same thing. If it's a hobby that you care about, you're going to spend money on it, So buy an elite controller.
Yeah, but they
Problem
don't.
solved.
But hit it. The hitting the ball off the tee is not locked behind owning a $300 driver. You can hit the ball off the tee with any driver you want, right?
No, but you can improve your performance.
Sure, you can always improve your performance, but the point is like the analogy would be like, okay, the driver's not in your bag until you upgrade your clubs, right? Like you can go pick up any set of clubs and have all the clubs. You can hit all the shots, right? Like you can buy a different wedge, you can buy a lob, you can you can buy a $900 Titleist head and with a screw fixing and all that crap, right?
Which may give you 10, 15, 20 more yards on your drive, no?
Sure, but it doesn't unlock the tee box for you to hit from, right? And there's a difference when you're figuring out little things and you're spending money to take advantage of elements that are kind of hidden in the game versus the elements that are available to you and made available to you. And I think there's a big difference, and especially in how people approach something like this game. Like for me, I have an older RBZ driver. I will probably never upgrade it because I play golf about once every 3 years. I'm not going to bother spending money to get better. But if you were to tell me that I don't get to use the tee box because I don't have the right driver, I'm not going to play, right? I'm just not going to do it. And there's a difference between when things are locked behind, things are locked away and not made available to you versus, the game is there. Just go and hit the ball, right?
We can agree to disagree, but as far as Omni movement goes, that's for everybody. It's in there for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Now. So
Yeah.
whether you choose to learn how to use it or not, again, that's on you, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm driving at is this time around, the skill gap is there, and it's just as much of a skill gap anyways, but it is significantly easier to access. Like it's easy to access and easy to figure out how to use, and it is going to be very difficult to master. And that's a big difference, I think, between what we've had before, where learning to use it, you can't fire up the game and learn to slide. You could never fire up the game and learn to slide cancel. Okay. Like that was something you had to go and intentionally figure out how to do it offline. It wasn't part of the game intentionally. But now you have this there's the whole training course is like how to use Omni movement, right? And you can run that course as many times as you want.
I ran it several times.
Yeah, and it took me several times to understand what they were trying to get me to do, and then realize that my settings were not working for that because I was dive only or slide only.
Well, that's
you can't dive.
Yeah, no, for the Omni movement to work, you got to have your dive turned on. So I have tap to slide, hold to dive.
Yes,
that's what I have on. And Aiden just put out a tweet. If you guys don't follow him, you should. Just about settings, like optimal settings in there for the Omni movement. I think I retweeted it or I bookmarked it one. I'll retweet it after the episode. But, I mean, there's a lot more settings now. And yeah, did you see the tweet that I did earlier in the week where it showed the number of presses to mantle shit?
Yeah, yeah, it was like
Zero button presses. Like you legitimately you don't have to press a single button other than your thumbstick to mantle shit. There's a setting in there for that. That's
yeah.
crazy to me, dude.
Well, it's good because it makes it accessible for people that don't spend the money on the controller. And look, clearly I'm all about spending money to do better, right? I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that philosophy is bad. I think
I'm all about
if you're no, yeah,
I'm
turn your
trying to get
monitor
to the
down.
comments of the live.
But I'm all I have no problem with that mentality, right? Like if you can buy better equipment to do better in the game, right? To better utilize what's there, whether it's better audio equipment, whether it's better, better IEMs. I mean, we just had a whole thing on that.
I mean, I was gonna say you got $5,000 worth of audio equipment sitting there.
Yeah,
I'm
sitting
probably
sitting
exaggerating,
down
but I'm
here on
probably
the
very
no,
close.
no, probably I probably have like $700 or $800 worth of headsets just piled on the floor back here
And why
because
is that?
because I'm trying to chase good audio so that I can have an advantage in the
A
game
better experience, no?
based on what's already there, right? Yeah, I want the better experience in the game, right? And just like I want a better experience, doing this podcast, I have a better mixer. I've moved up to PC, and we're definitely going to get into differences between the PC and my experiences in the beta on console because there are huge differences. But the more accessible, like that to me is where I think a good skill gap exists, right? Where it's accessible to everybody, right? You buy a set of clubs and you don't have to go buy the deluxe set to get the driver and unlock hitting from the tee box, right? Like, you know, that's not a that's not a thing, right? What you really want to have is you want to have everybody gets all the clubs, and then how good you get with the clubs is on you, right?
Well,
Like that's what you want.
it's like two people using the same club, right? Like you're not going to get the same results. More than likely you're not going to. You're a damn giant, so you're probably going to use all that leverage and smoke the ball 50 yards further than what I will, you
Yeah, but it's
know?
going to be 50 yards to the right because I slice the shit out of it every time. Like I will when I get into the back nine and I'm tired, I will stand like 30 degrees to the side to hit it straight and it go
Dude, I
woo.
got to face 3 fairways over that way sometimes just to hit it down this
The problem is
down.
every now and again I actually hit it right and it goes straight and I'm like, yeah, I'm 2 holes down, 2 holes over.
Yeah, that's fun times.
But yeah, I am happy with how they're doing the Omni movement this time around. And I was very concerned early. And so we'll get a little more into the weeds on what it is and what on our experiences when we kind of talk about our playtime in the beta. But yeah, the Omni movement itself is, I think, not that. It's not the boogeyman that I at least expected it to be. I expected it to be very uncasual friendly, and I have found it to be very very interesting and actually quite a bit of fun.
Well, did you see Modern Warzone's tweet? Doug's tweet where he said he's like this COD is going to give us the biggest skill gap we've had in a long time. I believe that it ultimately will because good players are going to be able to use all of those movements and that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be in their tool bag and
Yep.
it's going to make it is going to make the skill gap increase. It just will.
Yeah.
When you allow, like I said earlier, when you allow players to move, that's what happens. I mean, look at Warzone 2 and Warzone 2 specifically. Do you remember when you couldn't plate while running? And everything would it was slow,
Yeah.
you couldn't slide and shoot, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the skill gap did increase as soon as they allowed you to start doing just those two things. So
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, I think there's a direct correlation to that. Now, what they do with the matchmaking side of it, whether that offsets, who knows? But I think that it is going to increase the skill gap.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a new mechanic, and of course, the people that put the time in to learn the mechanic and master it are going to have advantages. I think that there are definitely things that they are intentionally holding it back in certain ways. So I don't think it's not going to be the end all like unmanageable skill gap. right? I think sometimes you get those skill gaps where it's like it's completely unmanageable. Like there's, if there's no hope for you unless you drop 30 hours in practice before you can play it. And there's games like that. Like, I think Valorant and Counter Strike and to some degree Apex are very similar. Of like, you need to really practice before you go out and play because the skill gap is so high. One good player will just eat you alive, and you have no shot.
Oh, Apex especially is insane, dude. That's part of why I don't play it, because that and PUBG, the people who fucking are playing those two games never stop playing it. So the skill gap from someone like me to even just an average player on that game is,
Yeah,
dude,
it's night and day.
Yeah, it is night and day. I like the Omni movement. I dove off the map on what is it, Skyline. I fell off the fucking map like twice, but not going forward or sideways. It's the backwards one.
You're not paying attention to how far back you are.
Yeah, not just doing it kind of unintentionally. So, I've got to be a little bit more cognizant of that. But one thing that I noticed, and it might be my controller, I feel like sometimes doing certain things, there feels like a few millisecond delay from when I'm pushing the button and the action is happening. And I think it might have to do with my controller. I don't know if you noticed that. Like it does, like almost like not like a hitch where it like jerks you back, where it just doesn't respond as quickly and it's not activated.
Yeah, there's a couple of settings that mess with that too, I know. And so like one setting is there's a sprint delay now that you can enable, which seems like a terrible choice personally.
Yeah, I don't know why you would do that.
But you can enable it if you'd like. I'm sure there's some reason behind it. But so, and I remember that when you're on, there was always a delay on tap to slide, where it like when you tap to slide or tap to dive, where when you tap it, there's a slight delay where the game is trying to decide, are you tapping or are you sliding or holding, right? That was a delay that was existing. And I don't know if that's still there. So people with more time on their hands will probably test that and let us know, hopefully soon. So yeah, there does sometimes feel like there's a sluggishness to when you hit the buttons to when it does stuff.
Did you port your settings over from from Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone? Did you know you can do that?
Yeah, it did it automatically. I didn't have to do anything.
So it did it. Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, I noticed that the graphics settings were like that. And that's something else I do want to mention real quickly. I think it's a beautiful game. Like it for it being a beta, it's pretty polished. Like graphically, I like the bright colors more so than the fucking dreary this color gray bullshit. Like I like the
or
bright.
The desert tan everywhere.
Yeah, like everything's tan. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. So the maps, yeah, great segue into the maps conversation. It's not high rise, it's penthouse.
It's Skyline.
Skyline. I like that map. That map is fun. That might be like a top 10 favorite map in the last like 5 years. The more I play it, the more I like it. I don't like Dome or whatever, the radar dish one. Scud. What a terrible name.
I don't mind that one.
I don't like that the radar dish is such a high point, and it just dominates like 3/4 of the map. Like there's
a power position too.
Yeah, and you get a couple of guys there playing up there. It's like you can't move out of spawn without a sniper because you're just going to get picked off. And I finally unlocked enough stuff where I can move off of the default classes. The problem is you have to level up some of these guns to where they're useful, right? Because they're just garbage by default. And I've been running into the problem of I haven't unlocked enough on all the weapons to build my own classes to where they're actually viable. And so I've been running that main default class, which is great. But when you try to run the default sniper class, the sniper's good. The shotgun they give you is such ass. It's so bad. Like I think you and I were playing, and
Yeah.
I was running it on that map, and I literally like point blank chest shotted somebody, and he just walked it off and like omni moved, you know, omnied over to the side, and in the I couldn't get another shot off, even though I was on him before he got me with that SMG.
I actually got a kill with that yesterday because I ran that same class because I have stuff unlocked, and I mean we're going to talk about the weapons and the attachments and things like that here in
Mm-hmm.
a little while. But like, yeah, I ran that sniper and shotgun class, and I did get like one kill with it, maybe two. I had more kills with that sniper rifle because I was pissed on Scud because two douchebags were just sitting up there at the radar dish with you spawn and you see nothing but sniper glint, and
Yep.
you can't move right to the trenches and you
Because
can't move left to the buildings without so yeah, I figured the hell
yeah,
with it. I'm gonna get a
and
sniper
there's
rifle
no
myself.
smoke right in this beta that I know that
No,
I've gotten to. So it's not even like you can smoke yourself out of it like we're so used to.
I heard they nerfed the smoke for this too, by the way. I was watching Next and I heard
Mm-hmm.
they nerfed the smoke. It's not going to be as powerful as it is
Good.
in this game.
I'm tired of smoke metas. Like it's good right now because like it's the only way to get anywhere because you're either gonna get sniped in the head or you're gonna get gunned around. But oh man, I'm so over it.
It's
Give us
useful
something
for
better.
getting a res though. Like that's why I want it to last long enough to get a res. Like if I'm carrying smoke and you get knocked and I smoke you, I should have enough time if I'm close enough to pop that smoke, get over, res you, and for us to get the hell out of there. Like
Yeah, but
because
it's
it's again, it's a tool that we can use. Like I don't want it to be over while I'm halfway through the res and then I'm screwed.
yeah. I mean, I don't with the res especially. I don't disagree. Like two or be able to throw two smokes down and get the res. Like that should be doable. But I just can't stand where it's like you start shooting somebody, and this is part of it is the current TTK is so freaking long at range. You start shooting somebody who's running out in the open, and it's like they just pop smoke, pop smoke. They've got like 9 smokes, or the whole squad's got smoke. So it's just this like trail of smoke across an open field, and they're just gone. And it's like, why bother, right? And so it's like unless you are like really for as open as Urzikstan is in parts, unless you're sniping, there's no point in taking long range fights,
I
right?
use
And
thermal sight on my sniper, so
yeah, but like again, sniping, right? Like if you're running an AR, the odds, and the problem is half the ARs, like the thermals totally screw you up when you start landing hits because all the blood splatter shows up on the thermal, right? So you can't even like with an AR, you can't readily track them through smoke all the
sure,
way to a kill at range. It's just difficult, right?
yeah,
It's more difficult than it should be, and especially if you're not running, if you're not trying to fight through smokes, the thermals just have too much going on. Which some of them you can toggle on and off, and I personally, skill issue because I just forget to do that sometimes. But I just find them not as useful as overall useful as you'd want them to be to counter smokes effectively. Like it's just so smokes are just overdone. I think versus like Warzone 1 where if you had to travel across an open field, like the way to do it if you weren't the skill gap that existed was between slide canceling and stims. You could really pinball around across the space, bouncing back and forth, dodging a lot more shots. It was easier to do, and honestly being able to cross open field was more of a skill gap than just bumping smokes on the ground. And so I think it'll be good to nerf smokes enough and have some options. I mean, with Omni, with the new movement, like
but
you don't need them to cross an open field anymore.
no, I don't think so. And you know what? If you really think about it, like I don't know that I really saw smoke used a lot in multiplayer anyway. Like for Modern Warfare 3, it's always been Warzone. So, I in multi, I don't run smokes anyway. I either run I actually pretty much just run stems.
Oh, and
Um,
multi, I'll run smokes all day if I'm running, especially if I'm running a melee class. Just put as much smoke on the ground as I can, and then just run around and start knifing people as I get close to them.
You're and
I love it.
You're
Oh,
something else, my dude. But no, back on the map. Scud, decent map, high rise. I like Derelict too. It's set in
it's
West
growing on me.
Virginia. Train yard. You have a
Country
tower that
roads.
people get up into.
Take me home.
On the right side, depending on where you spawn, you've got like a pathway where you go around some rocks where there's like a nice little head glitch that you can use. Domination on that map is kind of crazy.
It's interesting,
especially with Bravo being literally right there on the train.
Yeah.
And you can basically get ear hold from any which direction. And that's the other thing too. In talking about just the maps, I mean they made an effort to go with the classic 3-lane maps, and these maps, according to the developers on Next, are all small or medium. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of big maps. Because, I mean, if you notice the 3 maps we're playing, they're not really big maps. I mean, there's a couple times where we're like, holy shit, how's this dude already in our spawn? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're just small maps.
Yeah, they're very small. They're easy to get through, and yeah, I like that train yard one. Had a lot of fun with that. That one guy running that shotgun was a pain in the butt. That one game we played, but no, I enjoyed the. Yeah, I've enjoyed the maps. Again, Scud's not my thing. I don't like it. It's too open, unless I'm sniping, which actually I've had success with. So it's not terrible, but definitely a fan of biggest fan of the of Skyline. That great map. It's one of those ones that I would love to put, having a small rotation or even for a while, like a 24/7 playlist like that. And like, I would love to see a Skyline Nuketown 24/7, because unlike some of these other maps where it's like these other 24/7 combos that you'll get where it's like shoot house and shipment, and shoot house is just one of the most overrated maps I've ever seen. That map is just ass. But yeah, I think that would be a fun one. So I'm excited to see some of the other maps they've come out with. I didn't get to watch a ton of the map play, and so I'm looking forward to really diving into especially next week when we get some more maps and we get gunfight and we get some other modes. It's going to be really cool to see, I think. And then, so we have don't we have another mode coming in? A new mode?
Yeah. So, well, speaking of modes, I don't know if you noticed, but did you notice for like hardpoint that they added numbers to the other points?
They added numbers.
Yeah. So like the little icon above the next point has a number to it now. They did that to simplify it and be able to have better call outs and better rotations. So I think that's kind of a cool change. Nice little quality of life change that they did there.
So you know where to send them.
Yeah. But one of the modes they talked about, which is not in the beta at this point, because the modes in the beta are basically hardpoint, domination, and team deathmatch. Those are your 3 modes.
Yep.
They also limited your score streaks, which I don't know that we really indicated we'd chat about that a whole lot, and we can later if you want. But the kill order. So this seems like kind of a cool mode. Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to trying this. So each team it's a Slayer and an objective mode in one. Each team has a high value target that you got to protect, and then your kills, like killing the other team, counts towards your score or whatever. And I'm thinking the HVT is going to be able to get more points per kill, kind of like Hot Shot over on X Defiant.
It does sound like Hot Shot on X Defiant.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like
little
that.
borrowing going on maybe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, dude, they all do that.
Well, yeah. So that's good. Yeah, that'll be a fun mode, I think. Definitely going to be more team focused than some of the others, but we'll see how. This is Call of Duty. There is definitely an I in team. It's right in the middle of the A there.
I pretty much like when it comes to multiplayer. Especially because I run by myself a lot. I just keep it like mode wise to like TDM and Kill Confirmed. I mean, Kill Confirmed is my favorite mode anyway. I've played that mode on every Call of Duty I've played that it's been available since it came out. That's always been my preferred mode. Um, domination's okay, but I don't really like playing the objective games unless I have at least 4 people to play with. Because, like we've talked about, when we were talking about our experience playing X Defiant, when you're playing with randos and you're trying to go for the objective and their team is sniping into the objective and your team is doing God knows what, but not going for the objective,
Yeah, and
then
you just die and repeat.
yeah, then it's kind of
Yeah.
pointless. But yeah, so those are
Yeah,
the 2
kill
modes that
confirmed
I
is fine.
normally play.
I like kill confirmed. And then let's see. So that'll be a good mode. What else? What else did they talk about that's coming new on multiplayer in next? There are.
Well, I mean, not so much new. There's a lot of stuff that they're bringing back. But one thing also, too, that they mentioned is that the TTK is slightly faster than Cold War.
Yes.
What did you. So I think this kind of dovetails into the weapons and kind of weapon balancing. But, like, what did you think about the TTK from when you played? I thought it was fine, with the exception of going up against certain weapons. Certain weapons just killed really quick and you couldn't compete. So hopefully they'll be able to either balance those out by next week or definitely at launch.
I think the TTK is fine, especially with the new movement mechanics.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think the movement mechanics and the and the TTK together it's going to be a bit of an advantage for, I think, lower skilled players in a lot of ways, because they're going to survive more gunfights than they normally would. I look at, like, Modern Warfare 3 right now, and I think this does, and I think okay, I have to caveat that with something else that came up, which we haven't mentioned yet, which is the changes to aim assist and how that, and the feel of how the aim assist is working. So we know they've made drastic changes to it, and we don't know the full extent of it yet. There's some stuff that we can test that we know, and there's other stuff that I'm just looking at how it plays and comparing the two games, MW3 and where we're at now, and I think they've made a distinct change to how it works, and hopefully we hear more about this from the developers. But I think combine that with the longer TTK, and there's more survivability, right? I have noticed that I get away from gunfights where normally I would just get slammed, but I have enough time to react, and the reaction seems to break the aim assist more so than it did before. If you go back and if you've ever followed Hexsmith and you've seen a lot of his testing and or some of the testing that I've done, which is nowhere near as good, as extensive as his, what you'll find is the aim assist in Modern Warfare 3 and previously does a very good job of following the player, pretty much no matter what you do, unless you drop shot. Drop shotting is really the only thing that you can do to break that aim assist, unless the player overcompensates themselves, right? Like if they blow, if you have to trust that the other person's going to screw up, basically. I haven't observed that to be the case this time around as much. I have gotten away from a lot of fights that normally I would die from. Like, I turn the corner, I'm getting beamed because somebody's holding the angle, and I'm able to dive or slide and get away. Modern Warfare 3, if I turn the corner and I'm getting beamed and I try to slide away, I'm just going to continue to get beamed around the corner, right? I'm just dead. So more of those scenarios, and it's what's holding me back from walking away from all of them is mostly my reaction time, because I'm old and that happens. But definitely there's added survivability, and I think that as more players get used to this movement and start using it a bit more, it's going to increase survivability for lower skilled players who aren't able to use to use movement advantages around corners and stuff, or they're not like pre-jumping and pre-firing corners the way some of the higher end pro players will do. Like the players, as they run around, are going to get away from fights more, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's good at the end of the day, right? The higher skilled players will be able to track better. They'll stay on target more. And so they'll get more kills, but lower skilled players will, when they run, especially, and this is where it's an issue, right? Lower skilled players run into lower skilled players, and they can still beam each other, right? So if you're not a, if you're not in a high skill bracket, you still get beamed all the time, right? And I think that's one of the problems that players have right now is that they just get lasered across the map regularly, right? It's just a nature of this game. And I think we're going to see a little bit less of that now because of the changes they've made.
Did you notice the lean?
Yes,
Like I
it's
like
great.
that. I think that's a great feature like that they've added in. I like that a lot. Another thing though too is like I think that with being able to dive the way we can dive in that omni movement, that's going to change how rooms are breached too, because if you're sitting in a corner and somebody dives through the door, like it's a lot it's not as predictable as when all you can do is slide, right? Like your
Yeah.
path for entering a room is more or less almost linear. Whereas like now with the Omni movement, you can dive through a door and any which way, and I think that's great. I think that's gonna help combating the camping
hmm
in rooms. So I think that's awesome.
I think it's going to be interesting too because did you notice you can shoot doors open? You don't have to
I
bang.
didn't. I heard about that, but I didn't really try it.
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. And here's why, right? Like before, if somebody shuts a door, you have to be at the door to open it, right? You have to go to the door to open the door. Now you can shoot the door open and you're not right there. So
Can
like
I? What?
so imagine a scenario where you're in a room and you've shut the door and you're standing behind a desk or a couch pre-aiming the doorway, right?
Mm-hmm.
In previous iterations, you had to physically hit the door to open it and then either enter the room blind or you had to hit the door and pull off the door and then try and figure out where the guy is in the room, right? It takes away any element of surprise. Now, I can stand 90, just off 90 degrees, shoot the doors, they fly open, and then I can enter the room as I see fit, right? I can run across the open doors and get intel. I can I can dive through it, I can slide through it, I can do all these different things, approach it from all these different ways that I couldn't do before without exposing myself, right, to whoever's camping on the other side. It is I've used it multiple times. There's a couple places where people will shut a door, blasted the door open, and then they like stood off center, shot the door open, and they're immediately shooting the doorway, right, expecting me to be right there. But I'm off to the side, so now I know where they are, and then I can jump through the door and catch them by surprise. I've done that on the on Scud a couple of times. There's that warehouse thing, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
got two sets of double doors.
Yeah, the
Had one,
hard points are in both of those two. There's two buildings that are kind of like that.
yeah. I don't know if I clipped it or not, but the dude was inside, and I shot one of the double doors, and he started shooting through that doorway, and I blew, and then I jumped through the other door because now I knew it because he red dotted himself, and I knew where he was in the room. So I banged through the other door. So he was looking at the one set of doors. I came through the other door and earholed him for the kill. And it was like, you couldn't do that before because if you wanted to open the door, I had to run to the door, bang on the door, then run back and then bang the other door open, right? And so that's putting my footsteps, in the audio mix. I'm exposing myself. It takes too long to do that. They become aware that I'm not waiting for it. Great experience, and I think it's such a subtle quality of life change to these doors versus previously where you literally have to hit the door yourself to open it. I think it's a W at the end of the day, and it's going to limit camping because you're not as secure in your rooms as you once were.
See, and until you just kind of explain that to me, I mean, it's obvious. But I never really understood like why doors in Call of Duty was an issue, like why people had an issue with that. But when you explain it like that, as to the way it was prior,
Mm-hmm.
I get it, dude.
Yep. And that's, and I'm not opposed to doors. I think that doors can be useful. Vanguard was interesting because they had doors, but a lot of them were destructible, which
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like defeated the purpose of the doors because it's just an annoyance. If you think about it, right? Like it's only available at the beginning of the game, and then it's like you shoot the doors and like then they're gone and there's nothing, they're just not there anymore. And then the map flowed a lot better. So I think that was I think this is a good compromise where there's still some advantage. You can still run in and shut the door behind you and have a second or two to regain your health, to finish your reload, and you take away that intel from the enemy, which can be advantageous, especially if you're going to repush the door, repush the guy who you were engaging with. But it definitely is more limited in terms of its usefulness for camping and that sort of thing, which I think is good. I think it's in a 6v6, especially smaller map, 6v6. I think that's good.
Did have you been used as a meat shield yet?
I was on yeah, you heard what I said to the guy.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. So I did too, and I cussed at the guy too.
I'm not very happy with that.
But yeah, I got my revenge on that bitch though. I came back to that same life after I died. I killed his ass, then I teabagged him, and then I shot his body, and I talked shit to him. So
perfect, love it. I actually had one, and the guy was like, I pushed it, the spawns flipped, so I was in their spawn. He spawned behind me and just immediately grabbed me, and I straight up quit out of the game because he started talking shit. And I'm like, nope.
Can we talk about what you said on Derelict though? Because that was kind of out there, bro. Talking about doing homeboy's grandma, and then the worst part about it was then you were like, even if she's dead, and I'm like, holy shit, he's tilted, bro. God,
man. Damn. I get very unhappy whenever I'm getting executed, or apparently even more so when I'm getting meat shielded. I find that incredibly disrespectful. So yeah, I the filters drop a little bit in those moments. It was
funny as hell, though.
But that doesn't mean that I won't absolutely do it every chance I get to somebody else, right? Because we don't live in an even balanced world, right?
No,
but that's what the game is supposed to be, right? When you have the advantage, you get to gloat, right? And you get to have a good time. And when someone has the advantage on you, you get to talk shit to them and say things about their mother or their grandmother in this case. Okay? Like, that's how it's supposed to be, right? Do people take it way too far into like the no words? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We shouldn't do that, right? Don't be that much of a tool bag. But don't sit there and just be like a meek little like, oh, gee cheese, you're holding me as a meat shield and talking shit on Prox chat. Yay, I'm so happy to be here. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, good job, mate. Good day. Like
good game, gentlemen.
No. Yeah, that was a very good game, guys. Yeah, appreciate the abuse you doled out to me.
Yeah, no, I definitely. Prox chat exists to talk crap, right? Like, and at this point, like, okay, here's something I don't understand. I don't understand why they put Prox chat in to these modes specifically. If you're meat shielding somebody, they open Prox chat no matter what your settings are. Like, it overrides it. You get Prox chat. Why is that a thing when they automatically ban you for everything you say, right? Like, why are they baby monitoring us and putting us in these situations that are going to result in people saying things? Like,
might I point out some hypocrisy?
Why are they doing that both?
Might I point out some hypocrisy? So we have a company that has the track record at their headquarters that they have with debauchery and everything else that they've been okay with, but yet they're going to ban me for telling somebody to get fucked in the game? Like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's some hypocritical shit right there, if you ask me.
It is.
I don't understand that. I mean, obviously, dude, racism, bigotry, and homophobic, that shit, out. Don't do it. You just don't do it. It's not that hard to be a decent fucking person. It really isn't. But telling somebody to get fucked or you bang their sister or something like that, like whatever, dude.
Yeah, like that.
Ouch! Oh my God, sue me.
Yeah, I I I am frustrated at how much they want to try and control everything we do. Like my clan tag, like KLG gets taken down every freaking week. Like it's always getting yanked off. I have to keep
Mine
putting it
does
back
too.
up.
That's a glitch, dude.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Because
because I've had to reset mine several times, and then sometimes it'll have the left thumbstick icon in there. Like it'll glitch out.
what?
Like it does glitch out. That's a glitch actually.
Okay.
It's dumb as fuck. Like I don't know why that's still happening.
I
But
assume it was somebody spam reporting, and then
so
it was just yanking it.
let me ask you this. So as far as all right, so we talked about the TTK and the weapons. So right now, dude, the SMGs are king. Like that.
Oh yeah,
I forget what it's called. The
Jackal or something.
yes, the Jackal. That's the king SMG.
That's
Although I
great.
will say
Fun.
the C9 is really good, dude. I was clapping with that gun last night.
Yeah, I'm annoyed because a lot of the optics I want to use are locked behind it, so I'm gonna have to delve into that. But the SMGs are fun to use. I'm enjoying the SMGs a lot. And but the XM4 is fun too.
Yeah, I've got that one almost maxed out, if not maxed out. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've got it kitted out. I like it.
I mean, I've been enjoying. So I've rebuilt that enforcer class, that first default class.
Yeah, the barrel was too short on that, from what I heard.
Yeah, I've rebuilt that, and I'm still unlocking shit, but put stims on it, put a couple of other things, rearrange the perks a little bit, and yeah, the XM4 and that is like it's a great combo, and that, to be honest, is like I feel like that's where you should be with Call of Duty, right? You have a great AR, you have a great SMG, and everything else is like a little bit more niche, right? Like I think you should live in the realm of COD should live where SMGs and ARs are the kings. Everything else is a little bit more niche, right? The penalties for running running an LMG should be a little more severe, should be way slower than they are. Where you're running an LMG, the whole point is to hold an angle and just absolutely put lead down range at massive quantities,
it's
right?
suppression. You're trying to suppress fire. Like that's what you're supposed to use. So in talking about like the attachments, did you see? We went back to, so you have your 5 attachments, but then there's the wild card, right? Like so you can use a wild card coming up. I don't think it's in the beta yet, but it's I believe it's like Gunslinger, where you can have 8 attachments. So I know we're kind of going back and forth between multi and Warzone. I think what's going to end up being meta is going to be doing that and then just buying your second weapon.
Yeah.
If they still allow you to buy like a cheap one, because they're taking away. So overkill is a one of those wild cards too.
Right.
So it's not an automatic overkill anymore. And I asked DJ Moss about that yesterday, and I don't think he was too happy about that. I'd be curious how the comp guys feel about it. Maybe initially they may have issue and then get used to it. I mean, it ain't gonna matter. They're gonna slay out, and the bastards all get like $60,000 or $80,000 a match anyway. So big deal.
Well, I think it speeds the game up generally because people aren't so focused on getting perks and guns. When by the end of Warzone 1, if you recall, like there was a lot of focus on getting 2 loadouts, right? Like there was a lot like one of the big tactics was you collected money quickly to get an initial loadout that had a primary you wanted, and then you had a second loadout in the wings for perks and a secondary. And so you would the guys that I played with at the time, we would quickly get money, get a loadout on the ground, and then try to move towards the free loadout, right? And so before we're actually out trying to play the game, we're in this like cycle of looting and just trying to accomplish this goal of getting the perks and guns we want in the game versus trying to like just run and gun, which, you know, right now in Warzone, because you don't have, you know, you get both weapons and the perks you want, you're not stuck. You're not stuck the same way with it, and I don't know how it's going to play. Like, I don't know how well it's going to play.
So for us, in Verdansk, it was we'd get our overkill class first, and then we'd get our ghost class at the free loadout. But
Yeah.
I think that with these changes, so you know they're going back to a 3 perk system,
Right.
with the wild cards. So I think what they're trying to do is actually take the game loop closer to the way it was in Verdansk.
Yeah, but I don't think that so Warzone specifically. Like, I mean, multiplayer. You know, we have it. You know, we're kind of segueing into Warzone a little bit here, but in multiplayer, right? Like, I don't. You know, I think the vest system was actually really good, right? You don't need necessarily to have a second primary. But now that we're in, you know, looking at Warzone, I think not having a second primary option by default, it's going to slow it down a little bit in a lot of ways. But I think too, it's going to depend on how Ghost works, right? Because that was the big driver. You want to Ghost on your class because you were just by default off the radar. You had 2 suppressed weapons. You had Ghost. You were off the radar. You know, you were not on the radar.
Well, and the funny thing is, though, now though the way that's done, Ghost, I still run Ghost. But like really good players, they don't run Ghost. They don't give a shit. In fact, they run the opposite. They run Bird's Eye because Ghost is no longer as strong or powerful as it was in Verdansk, because now you have the Cons Vest, you have the Bird's Eye. I mean, shit, dude. Even like we talked last week, like that Stealth Vest is not as powerful as it was towards the end of Al Mazrah. So yeah, that I don't know. I think I really do believe with some of these changes, they're trying to take the game loop back.
Well, good. I mean, and they're getting rid of the backpack system, which I think getting rid of the backpack system is going to be helpful at the end of the day. I was a huge proponent of it. I enjoyed it when it first came out. I definitely enjoyed the ability to carry a second primary if you had the large backpack, if you remember.
Yep.
Because especially if you were someone who liked to snipe, you know, you were at such a disadvantage. This way you could have 2 primaries, and then when the opportunity arose, you could pull your sniper out and use that. And I think that was a good trade-off. Now that that's gone away, you know, I think we've seen the exploitative nature of the backpack kind of at its limit, right? Where you have 2 self-revives, 8 smokes, you know, whatever, sitting there. Like you were just so over-kitted, right?
It started in Al Mazrah with the drill charges. Do you remember the drill charge spam?
You have like 19 drill charges, right? And so
well,
I think
and the resupply, right? The resupply perk. Between resupply and your backpack, people are able to like hit that fucking building with like 18 drill charges.
Yeah. And it was and while that was kind of a thing, you didn't run into it nearly as much, right? But people would just have armor plates and revives for days, right?
Yeah.
Like, I distinctly remember so many times of like, you hit a guy, they get knocked, they get back up, you hit them again, and then they still get up and get away, right? Like you have to you can't keep iron sighting that, you know, the guy you've already knocked down. You have to target his teammates, which were, you know, somewhere else, but they just get up and walk away because they have another revive in their pocket. I think getting rid of that is going to be ultimately advantageous to the game. And the other thing it gets rid of that has become a nuisance lately is the streak spam, because holy shit, that's been obnoxious. I have had so many like late games where I just can't move because there's airstrike all while a UAV is up over my head. And it's like, I was playing with a couple of guys just the other night, I think Thursday night or something, and literally it was like us and one other team, and we were on Rebirth Island, and they had a buy station available to them, but they also had for a minute, and they just must have loaded up on streaks because we got hit by, I kid you not, no fewer than 8 airstrikes all at once. And with the gas coming and with the circle closing, like we couldn't move. There was nowhere to go to because everything was getting airstriked. And eventually all of our options got closed out, and we got demolished by this team because they just kept us pinned down for the entire duration. Right? We should have been going out, like we were out of plates, we were out of everything. Right? We were just hanging in a building while the building shook from all the airstrikes. And so when eventually they pushed us, we were all like two shot because we had no plates. Like we were just done for.
You bring up streaks. So the streaks in this beta, dude, I'm such a moron. I have to admit here, dude, that first little scout thingy that you do and it like does a ping and it shows.
Yep.
Do you know for the longest time I thought that was the UAV and that maybe it was just renamed and that my teammates could see that shit? It took Jigsy saying,
just for you.
We can't see that, right? Because I'd be like, eyes up. And I'm like, so I felt like such a fucking moron, and but then the RCXD, that shit's hard to drive for me, dude. Like
it's pretty fragile, to be honest. It's way more fragile than it used to be.
Yeah, and I've gotten a couple kills with that. I've got close to the Hellstorm last night. Mm-hmm. I like that streak. I liked it in Black Ops 2, especially on Yacht, where you could do it over the other team's spawn. Yeah. Or it was Hijacked. Guy. I think it was Hijacked is what the map was called. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, the streaks are kind of cool. And then there's that heli, which absolutely wrecks you because Cold-Blooded's not available, I don't think, as a perk. At least I haven't unlocked it yet. So, which is fine. I mean, listen, dude, it's the beta. The statistics, none of that shit even counts. It's just really more for getting a feel of the game. And so another thing that they talked about, so we've talked about score streaks and go back towards the attachments. So the attachments moving forward are no longer universally unlocked. They are now unlocked per weapon, which I think that's cool. So you've got to basically use well, actually, the more I think about it, I do really like that because now I don't have to use a fucking LMG for 30 matches before I can unlock something for my SMG. So I think that's really cool. I can just stay on the gun that I want to unlock the attachments for, and I don't have to use shit I don't want to use. Because honestly, I just like to run an AR and an SMG, maybe like a DMR type of weapon in in multiplayer. Yeah. The only reason I run some of that other shit is to max everything out. So that way, if there's a new meta for Warzone, I can just plug it right in. I don't have to say, well, shit, now I got to go grind for a week like your buddy did. Yeah. I just max all my shit out.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because, so it's not entirely true because optics are still universal. And so the optics are unlocked on different guns in the class, right, that you're in.
Yeah, it's class-based. So sniper rifles, ARs, that kind of thing.
Right. And so like you can max out an SMG and you don't have, so you have to still go to other SMGs to get the other optics, to have all the optics you want.
Right.
But you get optics. The optic thing is unlocked by default, right? So level 0 optics are available. So you no longer have to struggle through iron sights for like 8 levels before you can put an optic on it. Especially some of these iron sights are like trash. And so I think that's a huge, huge quality of life improvement, and really is going to make it easier to stomach new weapons as they come out, right? Because you're immediately, right away, you're putting an optic on, and your favorite optic, right? You don't have to deal with unlocking, 37 levels to get to the optic you want on the new AR, because it's, it's that far up the chain, right? Like, that was a Warzone 1 thing, right? Like, Cold War, it was I remember a problem on Cold War because there was only one optic. You ran the 3 times optic, either the axle arms one or the GR. I think they called it the GRU sometimes, right?
Yeah, for the
Depending on.
Soviet weapons, it was.
Mhm. And sometimes that thing would be buried 25 levels deep, right? And so you just suffered through that weapon until you got it maxed out. And now, once you get an optic you like, you put it on everything with whatever reticle you want, which is so great. I'm so glad that's coming back because there's so many good optics and the reticle sucks.
Yeah.
Um, but you get to put it on right away, right? So especially as the year goes on and they put new weapons in rotation and you want to start leveling the new guns, optic on, boom, it's day one. Great change. I love that.
What do you think? So you're a camo grinder. What do you think about the camo grind being able to start like immediately? It's not going to make it much of a grind probably for you. Like you'll probably go through it quickly.
I don't know because
I guess it depends on what the challenges are, right?
yeah, so they're all headshot based for the first group, right? So there's 3 different groups of challenges this year.
Talk about the camos too, like the weapon mastery camos.
Let's think of the grind real quick, right? So before it was you had to level the gun up to a certain level to unlock a challenge, right? And so the base challenges kind of unlocked as you went, which is one of the reasons I played so much zombies because I could unlock, I could max level a gun very quickly and then jump in and do grinding in what's it called? Jump into multiplayer and just start grinding those challenges immediately, right? And so when I do the camo challenges, I like to be as efficient as possible. And so a lot of times for me, I want to do as many simultaneous camo challenges as possible, right? So if it's like, get kills in tack stance and get kills in tack stance, get kills while sliding, right? You could do all 3 of those together and only do them in 50 kills. Or you could do 150 kills one at a time, the way they kind of laid it out. So that drove me nuts, right? So I would go, and then a lot of times your gun is not leveled up, so you're trying to do these challenges, and you're getting just smoked by people running the TAC 56 on day one, right? Because carryover was a thing. So in this new game, they've gotten rid of the level requirement, so you can just start right in. And the first group of challenges are all headshot based, right? And I think they said there were 6 or 9. I don't remember. I think it was 6 challenges or maybe it was 6 or 7 challenges that are headshot based. And I don't know if I'm not sure how they're going to do it where it's just like milestones. Like you have to get in total 300 headshots. And, it's the first 10 is 1, and then the next is 25, and the next one is 50, right? Something like that. Or if it's like get 10 headshots, in tack stance, get 10 headshots while sliding, right? I'm not sure which way they're going to go with it. I think it's the first one where it's like it's just a progression of headshots, and then you have 2 camos that are challenged based on that weapon, and then you have mastery camos. So it's a change from how we've done it before. I'll be honest, given the Omni movement, headshots are going to be a little more dicey because people are, the heads are bobbing around a lot more.
But people are laying on the floor a lot too.
That is also true. So that's good also.
So it might make it a little bit more difficult, but easier at the same time in certain situations. If you have somebody that you see that dives in front of you, it's pretty easy. Like boom, headshot.
Yeah. It's definitely a change. So it's one of those things I'm just curious. Like I want to get my hands on it. I have noticed that I feel like my headshot percentage is lower than it was, and I don't know if it's just because I'm being more and that's the thing too, right? Like I'm being more mobile, so I'm not as accurate to the head as I am in Modern Warfare 3 and definitely in Modern Warfare 2, where because I'm not flying through the air, I can be more stationary and play well. I do land more headshots. I think last I checked, I have like a 27% headshot rate. Um, which I think is high, like a little bit high, and it's because it's a focus of mine, right? Like I really practice, put a lot of effort into getting headshots in this game because I am also having to move a lot more. I'm not being as accurate. I'm getting a lot more body shots, a lot more limb shots, and not nearly as many headshots. So I think it's going to be. It's still a grind. I don't think it's going to be easier because the movement on both ends makes headshots more difficult and more rewarding. Personally,
So talking about headshot, I don't know what my percentage is, but I will tell you this: this last, I think probably 2 weeks, because I warm up a couple matches against the bots.
mm-hmm.
I turn it on headshots only.
Yeah.
To try to emphasize that, because I felt like in both multiplayer and Warzone that I've lost a lot of fights that I should win when I'm getting first shots and hitting first shots.
Yeah.
And it's all because of my centering and my shot placement. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really trying to play, an emphasis on that. And I hope we're able to get private matches so I can warm up the same way in Black Ops 6 as I do in Modern Warfare 3.
They definitely will. Private matches are like a staple of it. But in addition to like the multi, the standard camo challenges, we actually have a continuation of what we had last year, which was multiple different mastery challenges. So we had the standard multiplayer challenge, right? Multiplayer in Warzone camos, and then we had specific zombies camos, which I just finished that grind like 2 weeks ago. Which for the MW3 guns, and then they actually gave MW2 guns their own camo challenges, which I am not going to bother with because that's excessive. Even though Modern Warfare 2 guns had absolutely the best, they had the best camos of the bunch, I think personally. So it's unfortunate that I'm just not going to get to mess with them. This time around, we're going to have 4 challenges, 4 sets of mastery camos to grind for, which is going to be the multiplayer camos, Warzone specific camos for the first time, which is going to be great. It's going to be a fucking nightmare trying to get some of these guns, these non-meta guns going in Warzone. So plunder is going to have to be a thing, I think, 24/7.
If I get it in the course of playing, so be it. But I'm not going to go out and fucking wreck games trying to get a fucking camo that I'll because here's the thing too. If they're weapon specific, if that weapon's not meta, then you just spent a week grinding a camo for a weapon you're not really going to be able to use.
Well, and I think too, it depends on, so like multiplayer. So the camo challenges generally have been very high kill focused because they are, multiplayer games. You're averaging 30, 40 kills a game, right? Like, so camos, you can blow through camos very quickly. Most people in Warzone do not get 30, 40 kills a game, right? That is a very unusual thing. And so trying to make camos like camo grind in Warzone, I am very curious on how they are going to stack the numbers, because if there's comparable to the camos in multiplayer, no one's going to do it, right? Like no one's going to do it except for like a very few select high quality players. There just aren't going to be enough kills.
People will do it, I think, for content. And
very small.
I think you're talking about the 2 boxing and the fucking, that's going to be a thing for sure.
It's going to be a requirement for most people to do camos. Like, and so I hope that when they do these, that they think that through, that, if it requires 100 headshots to unlock the next stage, like, forget it. That gun will be out of the meta and never used again for so long, like before it is ever a thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious how it's going to work with like I said, the whole meta thing's going to be an issue. And I have no interest grinding camos for guns that I'm not ever going to use. I don't grind them anyway. But I will say this, and I think we should backtrack slightly. We've said this before, but Sledgehammer and Raven have actually, I think it's Sledgehammer. they have knocked it out of the park with some of these camos and the cosmetics for the weapons this year. They've been fantastic. Like
Yeah.
that obsidian, the reactive obsidian is great. Mercury, awesome. I have that on a few guns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I but the cool thing is those were done based on just more or less. You didn't have to do anything specific. You just had to get XP with the gun.
Yes. And
So
yeah.
I don't mind that.
And you know what? If gun, if weapon XP is like a bigger factor than the number of kills you get in Warzone for these camos, I think that's a W. Like I think that should be the emphasis. But like I said, I think they said it's basically going to be all headshots. Like that's the big thing that you're going for, which is going to be it's not an impossible thing depending on how many kills you need, right? But if you need to get 100 kills from for every stage, and it's 6 stages, right? Like that's just not a thing, right? You're just not going to do it. Like, and that's part of the problem is that not everybody. And two, I want to be clear, like multiplayer headshots for camos, they're generally, you have to get the kill with the headshot, right? Like if you get a headshot in and then you hit them 8 times, you hit them in the chest for the rest of it, and those don't usually count.
That won't apply for Warzone because a headshot isn't an instant kill.
Yeah. So I hope they think this through and they're not just like slamming it out there. And I mean, what they've had like 4 years of development. So hopefully they've done it. They've thought this through.
I think Treyarch is, I honestly, they don't really miss. And I don't really think anything they did like Blackout wise or like Black Ops 4 was really overly crazy. So I think it'll be all right, man. I mean, obviously we don't know the specifics yet, but I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And so like I said, those are my concerns, right? Like we don't know. They haven't told us the details. We don't know, right? So we're just guessing. But hopefully they've tailored the challenges for the average or slightly above average person in Warzone, where you're not necessarily going. And here's the other problem, right? How often in Warzone do you have your gun, right? You have to get your loadout. How often are you playing with ground loot? A lot, right?
Yeah.
So I hope the challenges are done in such a way that they're fairly accessible to people that really want them, and not a thing where you are just going to live with a 0 KD for a length of it because you have to get the dragon off headshot kills. Like you have to get headshot kills with the dragon off, like 800 of them.
By the way, so that Dragunov, the one that's in the game right now, it's not called the Dragunov, it's called something else. Not bad.
Okay.
I got a couple. I popped off a couple times with it yesterday.
Okay.
Not bad.
We'll see.
But anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, but so the camo challenges are good. It's nice to have a variety. I think there's 4 different challenges now, and it's multiplayer, it's Warzone, it's zombies, and what was the other one? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Jesus, we're bad at this.
Yeah, or maybe it's just 3. Maybe it's just the 3.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, it's gonna be good. What do I want to say about it? I'm optimistic that it'll be fun. I did look through the camos. We saw some of the masteries, and the multiplayer masteries are fire. They're so good right now.
What's the off the top of my head? I'm trying to remember. What's the one that's like Dark Matter?
Dark Matter. Yeah.
That is sexy as hell, dude. Like seriously, it had me like when I saw it, I was like, I might even consider trying to grind for that on some things or whatever.
I'll say this: in years past, the zombies camos have outshone everything else by leaps and bounds. This year, the multiplayer camos, I think the masteries are the best.
For Black Ops 6 or Modern Warfare 3?
Black Ops 6.
Okay.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 3, the mastery camos were on multiplayer. They were like I said, zombies in the zombies gold was better. The Zarkon scales is better than them platinum or silver or whatever. The green one is cool, and then the mastery camo, they both kind of suck. They were both kind of meh. I was not impressed, but the Modern Warfare 2 gun mastery camos were fire last year or this year. They're so good, and I don't have any of them because I'm not doing that grind again.
So speaking of grinding, did you see? I mean, we've talked about this, but it's worth mentioning again. It makes me happy that they're doing this. They are doing the classic prestige system. So 1 through 55, you prestige, then you lose everything. You get one permanent unlock. I think that's awesome. I don't know how that's going to work for Warzone, so that'll be interesting. Maybe that's also part of why they separated it in the little HQ thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work, but then being able to go to master prestige at a level 1,000, that's awesome because, dude, seriously, with the way they cap it and have for the last 2 years, I'm at the season max by halfway through, dude. Like, if I wasn't just grinding other stuff, but I was grinding for that, I'd quit.
Yeah, the capping it is weird, right? Like, and they used to do that in Warzone 1 at the end, they had it where they had a season goal, right? But the cap was like 1,000 levels.
Yeah.
Right? Like the actual cap, so nobody actually hit it, right? But you were trying to hit level 250 every season, and then it was like beyond that was kind of like where, all right, now you're showing how much time you're putting into it. If you remember that, I don't know if you recall. Yeah,
I can't remember how far I got, but it was usually pretty far because, again, I have no other hobbies and I play a shit ton of games. I mean, probably
I was always at
close to 2,400 games just this year for Warzone Urzikstan. So
yeah, I was definitely usually at about level 300, give or take. Was kind of, especially in Vanguard, that's where I was hitting. So I like that better than we have now, where it's just a hard cap, like, and so there's no point, in my opinion. Like, level doesn't mean anything. It's just like how much of an addict are you, but you can only tell for so long because you get limited, right? So I think the classic prestige is a good thing. I'm curious to see what happens with how blueprints factor into this, though, right? Like, because if you have a couple of blueprints and you just get those unlocked and they're pretty close to meta, they're good enough on meta guns, then what's the point in, what's the big drawback, right, to the classic prestige? Because you just buy a blueprint, you can just use the blueprint right away, right? Like, so I don't get that. I don't get that, how that's going to work. And I guess we got to get in and see it because we're kind of in a different era of COD than when classic prestige was the thing.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Did you see that they are going to have ranked for multiplayer early in season 1? So that's good. So they've been working on that. We will have ranked for Warzone around season 1 reloaded on Urzikstan, which is awesome. We were talking about that the other day, and I mentioned to you that it would be our luck, though, for them to give us ranked for the rest of Urzikstan, and then when Verdansk comes out, which was confirmed, they take it away for a while. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see them do that.
No, they won't do that. And here's why they won't do that. Last year, right, when they switched over to Modern Warfare 3, they had a big mechanics. The switch over was a big mechanics change, right? So they didn't carry ranked forward, and then they launched ranked for Rebirth or Resurgence only. Okay, and they launched it on Fortune's Keep. Remember?
Yep.
Then they launched Rebirth Island, and all they did is switch the map.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there weren't any big changes, so ranked wasn't affected besides the map change. That's what it's going to be like here, right? Because we're going to have the preseason and the first half of season 1 with the mechanic change in Warzone already taking effect, right? Because that takes effect in Season 1 when they integrate Black Ops 6
Is that
with
that's
Warzone.
the integration is season 1, like not 0, but season 1?
Right. Just like last year. So Season 1, Black Ops 6 releases the end of October,
Yeah.
and then Season 1 starts in December, right? And so previously, that's also been when we introduce a new map to Warzone. And so we've had that kind of combination of new mechanics and a new map. And so they weren't launching the ranked right on top of that integration. They waited like a season, right? So I think it was Season 2 that they gave us Resurgence ranked.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
check me
somewhere
on that,
around there.
something like that. This time, because the new map isn't coming, right? They're not together. It doesn't mean that the change, the addition of ranked is not map dependent, right? It's mechanics dependent. So it'll be just like Resurgence, where you're going along, nothing changes except the map. That's what you should expect.
By the way, your theory on Verdansk and the whole Fortnite thing that you talked about, that's pretty much all but confirmed. Because think about this: the training area, guess where that is? Avalon. There's another area, a new map. I forget what it's called. It's Avalon. It's an Avalon themed map. So that tells me they were going to build the big map. Like Avalon was going to be the map to come out with this, and
Yep.
then they pulled the rug out and did Verdansk. So I wanted to point that out while I was thinking about that, because I actually made notes about that. Your theory
Yeah.
on that is 100. I mean, it's pretty much all but confirmed. The only thing more that could be done is if Ted Timmons were to come on here, which would be fucking great, by the way, and say, yes, that's what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes the most sense, right? That for anybody who tuned in, who hasn't tuned in over the last few months, we've known this map is coming. Jay's had some contacts on the inside. He's known some of the details. We've talked about it, and then now there's news that it was delayed, and then we got the flyover of that Avalon map in the leaked files, which definitely, but the state of the map for the timeline of it definitely reads that it was abandoned. At some point, development was abandoned or pushed off in favor of Verdansk, and so that's where that point of view comes from. That they originally, Avalon was supposed to be the map that we should be on, and then they switched gears, and it explains and just to catch up, it explains why Rebirth Island shifted and launched when it did with almost no fanfare. Like we knew it was coming, right? But when you listen to what they said at Next, it definitely sounded like it was coming later in the year, and all the rumors said it was coming later in the year, and then all of a sudden, right, like, oh, it's coming like next season, like boom. And then there's been nothing going on the big map. All the big map, we're starting to get big map changes now, right? And so when you look at all of this stuff together, and then ranked, and the conversation they had about ranked and how that kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, clearly they rejiggered things. They shifted stuff around, and that's the thing that we're dealing with now, right? Especially on the big map, is we're probably getting changes that were supposed to show up early this year, and stuff that was supposed to happen earlier in the year that now we're starting to see because they moved their development times or schedules around to get Rebirth out faster.
I think one of the things that leads to frustration for a lot of people is that they just seem very reactionary and reactive rather than proactive. It feels like they're always having to, react to something, whether it be, cheating or, a broken gun or a broken, stems being broken. Like they're constantly having to react. And I think that that's all what they did here. They're reacting. And that's what is very frustrating for a decent part of the player base, is because they are just reactive.
Well, I'll tell you one time they were not reactive, that they were proactive. and nobody seemed to like it, and they have put us into this spiral for the last 2 years. They were very proactive about getting into the extraction shooter genre, and nobody liked the result of that.
Well, no, well, it's not so much like I'm glad they tried that. It's again, you don't change your core game for something that you don't that's more or less an unknown for your franchise. Like they should have let them be a separate thing, right? Like leave multiplayer and Warzone to kind of which I still think those should be separate too.
Yep.
Be separate things, and then have your DMZ mode. Like that could have worked. It was their execution that was fucking terrible.
Well, yeah, they were being proactive.
Yeah.
They had an idea and said, you know what, everyone's going to love this, and then everyone didn't love that, and they've been fixing it ever since. And I
But
think
it's
that's
like I want to see them innovate. Like that's the thing.
But they just tried that. They tried that, and they've been 2 years of fixing the mess they made when they tried to innovate.
Taking the franchise backwards is not innovating, my dude.
Well, to them it was probably a different direction that seemed like that's where the industry was going. We've talked about this before, but
Yep.
you say that they're just reacting. Well, yeah, the one time they tried to be proactive and tried to do something radical, it blew up in their face, like arguably so. Like it irreversibly tarnished Warzone. It absolutely set them back 2 years in terms of quality. It opened the door for other games to step in and steal players. The franchise has the one time they tried to do something different, it damaged the franchise for that we are still in the echoes of. So yeah, they're going to be reactive and very, very slow to make radical changes for a long time, I think, after that.
Yeah, and that affects sentiment, though, man. I mean,
You can't have it both ways, right? Like,
that's fair.
You can't have it both ways. So they're going to play it safe. I would not expect them to be to go wilding again like they did with with DMZ and Modern Warfare 2 for a long time. They're definitely going. We're going to see it more of an inch forward, inch back, step forward, step back as they yin yang back around and trying to appease everybody. But I don't know if we're going to see any radical changes in the near future.
Well, I mean, so I say I want to see them innovate. I think for the Call of Duty franchise, adding the Omni movement in there is innovative. While it's not original, that was in Gears of War, and other things, but it is innovative for the franchise. So I'll give them credit for adding that in there because, I mean, at the end of the day, who knows whether that was actually going to go well. But, since the beta had come out, I've had this conversation with a couple other people, and people are like, oh, well, this is just a copy and paste of Cold War or whatever. And the one thing I want to point out is these studios, they have their niche. They have their things that they're good at. You know what I mean? Like a Treyarch game should feel like a Treyarch game. I don't want Treyarch to try to be like Infinity Ward. I don't think anybody wants anybody to be
like nobody wants Infinity Ward to be like Infinity Ward lately.
Oh, I know, right? Like, dude, the tweets about not wanting Infinity Ward to touch Call of Duty again are like, I'm starting to see a bunch of them, and it's fucking great. I love it. Yeah. But and listen, nothing personal against the studio. Their philosophy kind of sucks, comparatively speaking. But back to Treyarch. Treyarch is doing what they do.
Yeah,
like the shooting feels like the same.
It feels like a Cold War. It feels like Black Ops of previous years.
Fun.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I played a fucking beta for 8 hours last night till after midnight. I'm usually off by like 10:30 at the latest.
Yeah.
And I stayed up till almost 1 o'clock playing this game. And I could have stayed up even later, but I knew I had to get up and record with you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Keeping you under control here. But it's one of those things of like, and there's definitely different crowds, right? Like there's definitely the classic Modern Warfare has a crowd, right? Like the people that love Modern Warfare, COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, even Modern Warfare 3, right? Back in the late aughts. Like those people like those sort of games, and there's not necessarily always a lot of crossover to like the Black Ops. Like people that like Modern Warfare, they like Modern Warfare games. They may not have liked the last couple of ones, but they like that style where it's more gritty, it's a little more realistic feeling. And then there's people that like the more arcadey feel, right? They like having the big, the metals that pop up and the kind of more cartoony feel to the game, like the way the colors, the saturation, the way the character models move, the way the guns feel, right? It's not it there's more liberties taken, right, into the realism aspect of it, which I think is fine. Like, it's not I'm not saying one is better than the other, but there's definitely two camps that exist, right? And
Sure.
unfortunately, so like when when the two don't, when there's not a difference in the feel, right? That's where I think there's a problem. And I think there's definitely a different feel for this Treyarch game than there was for Modern Warfare. Just like Cold War felt very different than MW 2019,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, right? Because it adds some variety. I think this back-to-back Modern Warfare experiment where the two games just blend together, not just in the feel of them, but also,
The story.
in the story and the weapons, and the carryover and all the like. Modern Warfare 3 did not feel like a new game to me, and it's not a DLC thing. It's that there just wasn't a, like, you could pick one up, pick up Modern Warfare 2 and play that, and then pick up Modern Warfare 3, and it feel, some of the mechanics aside, it feels like the same look, the same sounds, the guns feel the same, right? Like, it's very, very blended together, right? This game feels radically different without feeling different. And I know that is a contradiction, but it to me, it's like, this feels like a brand new game. It feels completely different. And this is something that I think is great, because I hated Modern Warfare 3 when it came out, because it didn't feel new at all. There was nothing to explore. We knew all the maps, right? Like, it took me like 2 run-throughs of High Rise to remember, oh yeah, I know all the jump spots. I know I know how the map plays. There was nothing to explore. Half the people played with the same damn guns they've been playing with all year. And there just wasn't a new feel to it. This game is different, but it still has it's still COD, right? It still has all the mechanics that we're used to, right? There's no extraneous, like, jetpack magic. You're not trying to fly in space, right? You're not playing, it doesn't feel like it's Star Wars, right? It feels like it's Call of Duty, just Treyarch's version. And that's what we've been needing, right? Something that's just different than what we had before, that isn't radically shifting things.
You know what I want to see? Kind of fast forward a couple years. I want to see what Sledgehammer's next title is, because they've been hosed for the last 4 years. If you really think about it, they've had 2 games in 4 years that they didn't even want to develop, apparently. So I
you know what they're going to get? They're going to get what happens when eventually they do a jetpack space one again, and they're going to have to do World War II in space.
Oh, Jesus. Dude, and I got to be honest, man, I really hope we don't go back to World War II for a while. Like, seriously, for a while, if ever again. We've already done it. It's played out, dude. Like, seriously, it is.
It's true, right? Like, they're just the cleanup crew.
Yeah, no, and I feel bad, but so just kind of we're wrapping up here. What did you think about Area 99? Did you watch any of the video?
I did. I actually paid attention to that one. Area 99 looks really clean. I like the look of it. I like the Fallout-esque motif they gave it, right? I like it. I think it's going to be a fun map. We'll see how it plays, right? Like, I can look at it all I want. I can, I like the lore, how they, it's a factory for nuke towns, right? It kind of just retcon explains why we've had nuke town in every damn, Treyarch game since the beginning of time, right? Why have we had so many nuke towns?
Thought about
right?
that.
Oh, it's because there's a factory that makes them, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. That is something we've missed since Modern Warfare 2, since Vanguard, let's be honest, where they just stopped trying to give Warzone a story, right? Like, give stories to Warzone. Like, that makes it fun, even if they don't make any sense, right? At least there's a reason to be doing stuff. And there's like an overarching idea behind Warzone. And I think that's something that Verdansk had that made it kind of fun. The cutscenes made sense. Like the overarching point of like being there, it at least existed, right? Even if nobody cared or didn't actually make sense when you sat down and tried to like think it through. But but they tried, right? Like, it
Well,
was something there, and it tied themes together better.
and it's a Treyarch map too. It's not Raven. It is a Treyarch map. Treyarch designed that map.
Yeah.
And I know Treyarch can do BR, dude. Like they can do battle royale. Like they're actually good at it. So
Well, let's find out, right?
I'm
Like,
gonna play the map a little bit. I mean, I don't like it, the mode that it's on. Like maybe like you were talking about, maybe they'll go like mini royale on it or something like that. But
I think it would be
either way, I'm
fantastic.
still gonna run the map. I might take a day and just run the map when it comes out, for fun.
Yeah.
Um, Also, so I could say I ran it. But yeah, so like I thought the map looked really cool. I like the story behind it. That's great. The other thing that really stood out to me was the way the loot spread on the floor. Like it's not. It seemed like there was a wider spread. So, dude,
It doesn't matter when you open one chest and everything is spread out as much. What the problem is when you're in a pitched, when you're in a gunfight and there's like 4 dead bodies and a loot chest and you want that one item, like until I see that scenario and I experience it, I don't care what they say, because
buddy,
everything they've done since satchels, like since the backpack drop, has been a disaster.
you shouldn't be looting in the middle of a gunfight anyway, my guy.
You know what? If I need plates or I need to pick up a gun,
Well, you run over plates.
Okay, but if I need to pick up a gun because I've just dropped back in to help out, right? And I need to pick up something that's not a starter pistol or not my 8th sniper rifle of the start. I want the gun that's on the ground, and when it's covered in like 6 different sets of armor plates, and I have to try and sort through like all this crap, or I want that self revive before I run into the next building to get into the gunfight. Or I'm between gunfights. Here's the other one. I'm between gunfights because I just fought it. We just fought a team over a loadout, or a buy station or whatever. And now I know another team is pushing because they saw all the fun, right? I need to get my shit. All right.
Well, that's why this is important. I believe it's going to be a better system than what we have now. Because you're right. It's frustrating when you have 75 things on top of the one thing that you're trying to grab. The way it is right now is very frustrating. So this is a good fix. We'll see how it plays out. Another thing that's awesome that's coming back, thank you, Ted Timmons, is the emotes and the sprays. Boy, can I not wait to tell some people to get fucked.
Yes. The fact that they took those away was stupid. Like the
It
sprays
was
are
fucking
fun.
dumb.
Sprays are fun. Emotes are fun. I hope they give us some gestures, right? There was the gesture where your hand was the mystery box and it had a little crank to it, and then bing.
Dude, I have some awesome clips of doing that to people before I killed them. Like,
Yeah, like bring us like there's fun in that. Like, give us the fun. Yeah, it's toxic. So what? COD is toxic. It just is, right? Like, put some some loose boundaries around what's permissible, but let people be toxic. Stop trying to police everybody.
Exactly. I agree. What about the unlimited attack sprint with the melee out, like your permanent melee?
And here's the thing, like melee is, for me, melee is a lot of fun, especially if I want to be trolly or toxic, as we mentioned at the top of the episode. And so being able to pull that out, like, I had one. So here's one. I actually lived long enough to run out of bullets in my AR. My SMG was on a reload, and I knew a guy was pushing. I could hear him coming down the hallway. So I actually just switched to my melee. He, omni movemented through it. I closed the gap because he didn't have aim assist and just knifed him to death, and it was glorious, and he was pissed. And that's the sort of thing that I think is fun, and I think they're killing it in terms of like giving you different ways of playing. I think having a knife forever, like, great. I love it. I'm having so much fun. Warzone's going to be great because you know what? We didn't talk about this. Aim assist is not the same now. Aim assist has been radically altered, and we don't know how exactly. We have some ideas. We have some things we've been able to discover.
They took away the types.
Yes. So there's no more um, focusing
Dynamic.
or dynamic or what was the Black Ops was one and
Yeah.
default, right? Like it's just aim assist. It's all right, and they've limited. They've taken away the point blank aim assist. So now um, it doesn't give you rotational within 3 meters, 2.83 meters, something like that, and it does not. Excuse me. It does not give you any slowdown within 2 meters. So point blank range, you get nothing. Okay.
I'm very happy for our mouse and key friends. Seriously, like that. I'm seeing people that have been shitting on Call of Duty for as long as I've known them that are actually on Twitter and they're happy about it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy for those guys because at the end of the day, dude, we just want to balance and fairness at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
that's literally it. I don't think one should be favored over the other. Just make it fair and call it a day.
And here's and so this is one that we will probably not get to really explore until we get private matches. But there's definitely something different about how aim assist tracks with movement. I have observed, and I have several clips to back this up. Aim assist stops working or doesn't track some of the faster movement actions.
I don't think I've felt the drag once.
Oh, I've definitely felt the drag is definitely there. It's definitely there. There's definitely magnetism still, which is on controller you need. You have to have it, right? Like in order to unless you eliminate it completely and you just ban mouse and key, right? If you have crossplay, you have to have some aim assist. Otherwise, the controller is just a waste. Like you will never compete with controller without aim assist against mouse and key. Okay. That being said, the aim assist in this game, I have definitely noticed a ton of moments where someone makes a quick move, right? That a quick move, they do an omni movement thing, they dive, slide, whatever, and that doesn't track, or it breaks the aim assist much easier than it did in the current game, right? Like the current game, if you run back and forth, right, on the screen, like the aim assist, the reticle will just follow, right? Like and most people when they say my aim assist doesn't do that, it's because they're overcorrecting, right? They're not letting the computer do its job. Okay, they're fighting it. I do that all the time because I'm 30 years on mouse and key. What do you want me to say? Um, but mouse and key, like the aim assist now, and I posted one. I don't know if you saw it, where two different parts of the fight it broke aim assist, right? The one guy, one was he is a distance and he's just running this way and then he just stops and reverses and goes back the other way. And I can't tell if he did a movement or he just stopped and went back the other way. My reticle just stopped. I had to manually catch it back up to get the kill. And then I had another one where I did ran into a guy and I did an omni movement dive, and he did not track it at all. And I could tell that he expected the reticle to follow because he was just shooting and he just sprayed bullets over my head. No adjustment downward, which you would get in the existing game. Like it would dip down. It's just a vertical line of bullets, and I just I shot him in the nuts and got the kill. So very different experience, and it's good overall for pretty much everybody except for the kids that have gotten real good at abusing the aim assist and being and letting the computer do all the work for them. They're going to have an adjustment. I think there's a lot of people who have relied very heavily on very strong aim assist and magnetism to be successful in the game, and they're going to have a lot more trouble maintaining their current skill level, we'll say, without these mechanics.
Well, and the other thing too, you mentioned this earlier. So one of the big differences, right? Say Modern Warfare 2 to this one. Modern Warfare 2 had that aim assist, had that drag, didn't have any real like outplay ability or a way to get out of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you mentioned a couple times earlier, this game has less aim assist and a way to get out of the fight. Like you have ways to get yourself out of trouble now.
Yes.
You have tools at your disposal, and so I prefer this all day
Oh
because
yeah.
there is nothing more frustrating than coming around a corner with Tim from accounting that's fucking mounted up on a planner, and he just, beams you because he's got aim assist, and on top of that, you can't break it, you can't get out of the way,
Yeah.
nothing. Whereas here, you can move, there are things you can do to get out of the way.
And
So
yeah, and
yeah,
here's the thing, right? Like, so I'm a slightly above average player, right? Usually sit a little bit above a 1 KD when I'm not camo grinding. Um, I am not getting quite as many kills as I do in most other Call of Duty multiplayers, but I am dying at a much lower rate as well. So I'm actually doing better, even though I'm getting slightly fewer kills. I'm surviving a lot more gunfights, and so I'm dying less.
I
And I think that's
feel like
going
I'm
to
getting
be,
more.
well, yeah, it's a skill issue. But but I
No,
think, but it, and part of it is if I'm not trying to like push myself into situations that I'm not good at, right? Like I'm still learning the movement and learning how to use it. So like if I'm playing super aggressive, I'm going to die more just naturally, right? Because you walk in a room and there's 3 guys shooting you, you're not going to walk away from that.
now's the time to do that.
Well, yeah,
Now is the
obviously,
fucking
yeah,
time to do it.
yeah.
Learn the game.
But like if I settle down and I just play normal, right, and I use the movement in situationally, I'm not trying to push myself in, like push. I'm not trying to create situations where the movement is required to survive, but I'm just trying to like play normal. I'm surviving way more, right? Like especially on that one that map, oh god, Skyline. Oh, my brain's not working on names today. Skyline, right? There's the balcony, and
Yep.
then there's the hallway, or the
And the
balcony and like the
staircase.
rooftop, right? And so you can shoot at each other. And so routinely I will turn the corner and there's like 2 guys there, and I'm all of a sudden getting lit up, and I can dive out of the way and I survive it because they're, even though they could keep shooting me if aim assist tracked, I'm breaking the aim assist to get away way more frequently. And I'm noticing too, people are getting away more because they're able to break the aim assist. And it's not crazy movement. It's not being, you don't have to have an 8-button combo and like, pinball around to do it. You can literally, like, anybody will be able to do this. You just are just doing a dive or a slide out of the way and then getting up and getting behind cover. It's enough to get away. And in Warzone, it's going to be way more common. You'll notice it more with the longer TTK of Warzone, provided these mechanics carry over. And for bad players, it even though it seems like, oh, aim assist is nerfed, it's going to ruin my experience. They will probably still get most of the kills they normally get because they're going to get the kills where the other guy is just chilling, right? Like they're not running into the high movement players and getting kills on that, or they're getting snipes or whatever, but they're going to survive more gunfights. And so at the end of the day, bad players, I think, are going to have a better time because they aren't going to die as often. Okay. They will probably win the same number of 1v1s that they do now. They are probably going to get the same number of free kills that they do now. They will probably get fewer kills that are just, the one shot, right? Like you just get the down as the guy gets into cover. You're not going to get as many of those. And there will be more situations where, people kind of get away faster. So you deal slightly less damage over time, but you will also survive those gunfights more. And that is going to ultimately, I think, provide a better experience for players versus the way that they're doing it now, which, and this I know is going to resonate with you. Right now, the way that they are keeping bad players engaged is getting them back in the game more. Flares, jailbreaks, all the resurgent stuff on the big map, right? Because they don't want to, second chance gulags, gulag tokens, right? All of that is there because bad players die fast and then they stay dead for a long time. And they don't like this. They don't play as much. If bad players don't die so fast, you don't need that stuff as much.
Maybe.
Right?
I mean, I hope you're right. I really do. And for me, it's not. Maybe it is. It's one of those things. It's those mechanics that I've hated. I didn't hate them because I hated them because it's the deaths, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just the number of deaths that was frustrating to me. It's not about kill death ratio. It's not about kills. It's about the deaths. If I'm dying 7 times in a game that I feel like I shouldn't be dying that many times in, actually, you know what? I've said it before. If I want to die fucking 7 times, I'll go play multiplayer.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's awesome. I think that having these mechanics in Warzone is going to be great because we know they are coming to Warzone.
Yep.
Satchels are going to be back, which is cool. What are your overall thoughts as we kind of wind down here on the beta?
Well, I think so satchels tied into backpacks pretty well. So like I complained about the backpack spam, but I'll say the one thing that I really enjoyed about backpacks is you can carry as much ammo as you want. Ammo and plates, usually what I stock up on anyways. And the benefit to that really is that you have enough ammo of any given type that you can double up, right? So you could run a 2 SMG setup or a
Right.
AR setup, right? Or an LMG AR. So like I like to run, if I run an LMG, I like to run a sniper support more because, LMGs tend to be more bulky and cumbersome. So if I'm pushing into a closer range, I don't necessarily want to be, have a have a 10-meter gun and then a gun that I need to be really 20 to 30 meters before it's effective, like a lot of the LMGs are,
Yeah, we've
right?
talked about this last week.
And so there's a gap, there's a gap that you fight in a lot, right? So but so the ability to have a like the BP-50 as a sniper support, right, and an LMG, right, is kind of a best of both worlds. It covers a lot of the ground. It's still very viable. The Ball 27 kind of fits that bill as well. In Modern Warfare, in Warzone 1, in the standard system, it's not as practical because you're just going to churn through your ammo and you're going to be out of AR, right? And so it's not as practical to do. And with the backpacks, it's much more doable because you can just stock up on as much AR as you need. So what they're doing with the satchels, which I think is really cool, is they're giving you that option, right? So you can pick up both satchels. You can have them both, have a lot of plates and a lot of ammo, and you don't have to have the streak spam. I think it's a great fix for it. It opens the door for both. As long as the satchels are plentiful enough that you can find them, I think it's good. I think satchels are great. Overall, I think it's going to be a good year. I think the movement's going to take some getting used to. I think it's accessible enough that most people will get some use out of it now. Versus like some other movements that people didn't really do much of. But I don't think I think there's enough hindrance in the way the movement is built that it's not going to be quite as crazy as initially expected. There's going to be some crazy stuff for sure. Like good players are going to really put some use to it. But I think for most people, most engagements they were into, it's not going to be a wild like I can't do anything here. It's just going to be someone does something that's surprising and that surprise will be what gets them the kill, if that makes sense. You're muted.
I know that I turned my sensitivity up to higher than it's ever been. I'm actually running a 7.7. I probably need to turn up my ADS sensitivity back up too.
God,
But
7.7 is the lowest I've had it in a long time.
yeah, no, I don't usually like to run it that high. My overall thoughts are, I think it's going to be a good year. I think, like I said earlier, I think the skill gap is going to be bigger.
Yeah.
As it should be, I think, and the fact that they've, like you've said, made things accessible to everyone. So then really the choice is on them as to whether they use it. If you don't use the tools in front of you, then whose fault is that?
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Warzone. I can't wait for the Cold War integration for the guns because I'm kind of over what we have now in Warzone. I'm over it,
They're
dude.
all
I
the
mean,
same.
and the crazy thing is I heard that they're not, in fact, going to. Well, somebody was saying that, but then I've also been told that they are going to vault the Modern Warfare 2 and 3 guns, which I don't know if they will or they won't. I think they
I've
should.
not heard that. I have heard specifically that they're all there.
Yeah, I think it's fucking silly that they're there. What is the point? You're just leaving things in to be overcomplicating things. Um,
I'll tell
anyway,
you why. I'll tell you why. Because people have spent money on blueprints for guns that you're going to take out of the game.
but they're spending money on blueprints for guns that they're not able to use and compete now. What fucking difference does it make?
But people think they own these things. So
It's dumb, dude. I mean, it is. That's why I buy operators, dude. I don't buy for guns. Because it to me it doesn't matter. But anyway, overall, dude, I'm excited. I had a whole lot of fun yesterday. I was on controller today. I'm going to try to play some. I don't know if I'll be able to make it the entire way on mouse and key. I haven't played mouse and key in a while, but I want to see what it's like on that. And yeah, man, I'm just
I'm excited because I'm actually going to try this out on this. Is that I haven't done it yet. I haven't played mouse and key on COD since Cold War came out, and part of it is my hands get tired and it hurts after a while to I don't know, tendons aren't what they used to be to
it's
sit
the
there and do the
arthritis.
keyboards. Probably early onset arthritis.
I had to
Getting
start
old.
taking glucosamine, dude.
I picked this guy up. Still haven't run it yet. It's one of those, instead of WASD, it gives like a little puts the WASD in a thumbstick configuration, which should make that better all around, and then mouse for aiming, which I think could be a lot. Should solve my problem and make the ability to play mouse and key better for me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try that. Might try it up on Sunday a little bit and see how that goes on the beta, because betas don't count. But overall, looking forward to the year. And I'm just going to close it out on the cool part that I was messing around with today is that they are correct in that if you buy a gun and a blueprint, right, the pattern of the blueprint, so if you have the Vault Edition, you get some blueprints to play with. The pattern of the blueprint carries on to the parts that you add over. Yep. So on the SMG, I loaded the blueprint up. I added a longer barrel, and sure enough, it didn't cut off the decoration halfway through. It just extended it. It looks good. So that's a quality of life fix that has long been overdue. I'm very happy with it. But with that, we're gonna wrap up because we are way over time. Thank you all for sticking around. In chat, Drade had a great idea. We're gonna talk about that a little bit offline. Jay, I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't see anybody in chat. That's why I didn't answer anything.
But looking forward to, we'll talk about that offline. But thanks for coming by. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate having you guys in. And we're going to catch you on the next one, baby, if it plays. This has been Sub 1 Kitty, along with J007 TV and the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast. We're logging off now, so we'll see you next time.
Told you we'd go long.